We need to make sure this is a safe environment. We need to make sure this is a fun environment. We need to make sure this is a mostly professional environment. Professional in the ways that it needs to be professional. The last thing we want to do is like bring you in on your first day and just fucking kill you. Like, no one gets anything out of that. That's how I feel. That's how y'all. That's something that took me a pretty long time to figure out. But then once I figured it out, I feel like I fucking got it.
So welcome to All Angles Wrestling, and welcome to our first ever guest, Bojack. He's a 22-year-old rising star of US independent wrestling. He is a former PWF Undisputed Champion and the current and inaugural DPW World's Champion. With the belt ready.
The big gold.
It is really good to have you here as the first person I've got the opportunity to speak to. Tell whoever's watching a little bit about Bojack. Introduce yourself to the people.
So, Bojack, the Dreadlock Demolition Machine. I've been doing it for about 5 years now. I describe my wrestling style as like a big, like, hulking video game character. Basically, people say I do a lot of crazy. Are we allowed to curse on here?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, people say I do a lot of crazy shit, and but I think that's what people like to see from me. So
that's cool. That's a good way of putting it. There was other stuff I was going to start with, but you've brought up two things already I want to ask you about. First up, where did Dreadlock Demolition Machine come from? How long have you had that as a nickname?
So that was probably I probably got that nickname in like 2018. Because when I had first debuted, they just called me like the Monster Bojack, and like how original is that? But I kind of wanted something to like sort of set myself aside and actually stand out more, because how many guys are just called the Monster, like described as a monster? And I had like way less personality in my character than I do now anyway, so that was an easy descriptor.
It's good. It's
But
Dreadlock Demolition.
yeah.
It's pretty straight to the point. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't plan on getting rid of these anytime soon. So
you'll be a Booker T holding on to it for as long as possible. Just
absolutely, bro. Absolutely.
I like it. And then the other thing, you describe yourself as like a video game style character. I was going to ask you, if someone asked you to describe your wrestling style, who's your go-to comparison? I feel like people compare wrestlers all the time. I never hear wrestlers compare themselves to people. Or do you just try not to think about that at all because you're the one and only?
It's a little bit of a nice mix of like, because there will be times when like, whether it's like promoters or like people that have never seen you before, where you do need to describe yourself, and the easiest way to do that is like who has come before me that I sort of style myself after. So I like to think I'm a mix of Mark Henry and Shingo Takagi, because that's like easily my favorite wrestler right now. We do like similar moves here and there. But I try to stay away from that in like the grand scheme of things. But I think you should always try to be the best version of yourself rather than the next version of someone that came before you. Not to say you can't pay respect and draw inspiration, but that shouldn't be your main focus.
I mean, it's pretty accepted that anything that's got the new in front of it isn't going to succeed as much. So if you're
exactly
you're the next, you're the new, you're the whatever of something before, that's already diminishing your stock. So I think it's good that you've got this self-branding already. Awesome. So that's two of my very important questions down already. I wanted to start with a little bit of a bonding exercise, because the first time you and I have chatted, but we already have something. We have a couple of things in common. First of all, I think I'm a month older than you, which would confuses most people. I think I'm about a month older than you, but we also have the same favorite movie, or at least we did when you got asked about this before.
Okay.
The last time you got asked about this in an interview, you said it was Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Absolutely. Oh my God,
and I wanted to show off something cool that I think you'll appreciate that I got. So my, actually, that doesn't have anything to do with what I'm about to show you. I just want to show you something cool. This is the special edition of the Scott Pilgrim video game that they released last year. So
that's so sick.
It's like a vinyl case, right? But inside is a little stage.
Oh my God.
I know.
Yo.
Comes with loads of cool stuff. I just wanted to show straight off that we have something in common, that I've not just reached out to you to be like, oh, you'll do, talk to me. We've got drumsticks, we got a cassette, like a a cassette of the soundtrack of the game and then the game itself. And I was very excited to get this in. So I think the movie is incredible. It's my favorite movie as well. I've seen it like 10 times probably.
I think, man, I've probably seen it like, it's the only movie I've watched in full 10 plus times. I've probably seen it like between 15 and 20 times by now.
That's a good sign. For the game I'm going to introduce you to, I've been doing this for a couple of years with my work outside of doing interviews. It's a game I like to play called Rush Mountmore. It's very simple. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to name your top 4 of something in no particular order. That's usually how it works. It's any sort of topic, right? Same as like Mount Rushmore, it's like the top 4 of something without any like definitive 1, 2, 3, 4. On the subject of Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and I'm going to do this in the most least professional way possible by just putting my phone up to the camera with a 30-second timer. Hopefully you appreciate that. You have 30 seconds to give me your top 4 quotes from Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Number 1 is easily gelato wasn't vegan, smoking eggs, bitch. The second one is man, it's when when Knives is looking for Scott. Is Scott here? And he like dives through the window behind them. It's not like a funny quote, but it's like very relatable. It's when Scott's like talking to Wallace and he's leaning against the fridge. He's like, you know what sucks? And he's like, what? And it's like sucks infinity. He's like everything.
You got 3 out in the time limit, but I'm still interested. I don't want to know what your number 1 is.
My number one,
not your number 1, but like the 4th one, the one that we missed out.
It's not a quote, but I think it's like one of my favorite scenes is when Chris Evans is skateboarding, he's doing the grind, and the Scott's just like, wow.
The smash cut back and forth.
Wow.
I love that there was a thing going around a couple of years ago when Marvel started to really be adding people, like way more actors to the Marvel franchises. And they were like, here's a list of all the Marvel heroes that have been heroes in other things or been in other comic book movies. And that was one of the ones for Chris Evans. They were like, he was in Scott Pilgrim. And I was like, that's quite different. But no, that's really cool. I think most people go for when they're eating garlic bread and they go, bread makes you fat.
Bread makes you fat.
And my personal favorite favorite quote is where he's going, he's complained to Wallace, the same one where he's like, do you know what sucks? Everything. And Wallace is like, are we talking about the L word? And Scott's like, lesbians?
Lesbians?
No, love. It's very good. It's, one of my favorite films of all time. It's my go-to answer. I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like I need to have a go-to answer for questions like that sometimes.
It's like a genuine answer, but it's like an easy go-to because I feel like the comedy is pretty smart, and it's a video game movie. It's not a video game movie, but it's got a lot of video game references and influences. So I feel like it's just a fun watch overall.
Do you have that for other questions? I feel like if you're doing a bunch of interviews, again, I've seen some of the ones you've done already, you'll be asked similar questions over and over again. Do you start to just get stock answers to whatever someone might ask you?
I try not to do that because I think about a lot of stuff at a lot of all the time. And I'm involved in a lot of different things. Video games, movies, anime, stuff like that. Just TV shows, wrestling, and all that stuff is always changing so much. So I try to just give like what's like genuinely right there in my head at the time. But there will be some stuff like Scott Pilgrim is genuinely my favorite movie ever. So that's my go-to answer for that. But until that could change, I might find a better movie. But for now, that's like my go-to.
That's a go-to.
So I try to give. Plus, I like to vary up my answers too. Sometimes I'll be feeling different on different days. So
that's good. That's right. That's a good way of having it. In a previous interview, you got asked about your favorite cartoon theme song, and I need you to clarify something about this answer for me because you said it was Teen Titans, the original Teen Titans. But I need to know: is your favorite the English version or the Japanese version?
I'm gonna say the English version because as a kid, like that was like so fun to sing along to.
Yeah,
it's a super fun song and lyrics are fun. And you don't actually hear the Japanese one too much unless you like look it up because they'd only play it on like some of the more comedic episodes. It's something I figured out like years and years later.
I love that
So
fact. I think that's one of those things that you, as a kid, you don't think about, and then you get told it as an adult. You're like, "What? That's so
yeah.
cool to think about it that way. That they put that much effort in." I love that. Awesome. Well, we are here to talk about wrestling. We're here to talk about your career as a wrestler. It's not just me going to be asking you about your favorite movies and cartoons and stuff like that for an hour. As much as I would love that, maybe we can set up a second interview at some point. I wanted to ask you about unconventional training methods for wrestling, because you said that the first training session you had when you got into this, the ring was being used. So the session was just cutting promos on games and movies. So first of all, can you remember any of the promos that you or someone else cut in that first class? Is there anything that sticks out to your head?
I was tasked with cutting a promo about why I thought the Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim was the greatest game of all time. Uh and like here's why I love Jakob Hammermeyer as a coach and as a person, because he makes you like think in ways that you probably wouldn't. He's like, regardless of, here's what he told me. He's like, regardless of if you actually think Elder Scrolls is the best game of all time, I need you to sell me on that thought right now. So now I have to get into the mindset like, why is this the greatest game of all time? It's like up there for sure, so it's not that hard, but like regardless of my own personal beliefs, I need to sell you on this pitch, and I have like 30 seconds to a minute to do it. So it's like cool thinking exercises like that. It's like nice like brain exercises too, rather than just, you know, talk for 30 seconds. But that's like that's part of it too. Because there was one guy who I forgot what he was talking about, but like he's sort of like, you know, awkward and like not super great at talking. And he was like, just talk for a minute, or yeah, 30 seconds to a minute. Just talk. Just talk about X topic. And it was something like breakfast or something like that. Super broad. He's like, talk about breakfast for a minute. Because a lot of us don't have practice or training giving like speeches like this. A lot of us are like super fucking awkward people. Genuinely. So you need to get forced to be comfortable talking like that.
Excellent. So is that something, I feel like that's a really fun way to start your training if you're just getting introduced to it. Some people will be made to run the ropes until they're sick, you know. You guys got, I want you to talk about breakfast for a minute. Is doing stuff like that a great way of introducing people to wrestling and making sure that they realize it's fun and it doesn't need to be 100% all the time? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's one of our biggest things. So I help train now at the school that I trained at the Carolina Wrestling Academy. And every like 7 weeks or so, we'll have a free day. We bring in people that are interested in trying. They can just get in, just roll around and whatever. But the biggest thing that we say to like the people that are already here, we'll be like, hey, we have a free day coming up. Biggest things that we need to make sure we do, we need to make sure this is a safe environment. We need to make sure this is a fun environment. We need to make sure this is a mostly professional environment. Professional in the ways that it needs to be professional. Because it's hard work. This is I will die on the hill that this is the hardest sport in the world, but there's no reason that we can't have fun while we're doing it.
That's the mindset you've taken now that you've become a coach as well.
Absolutely. I feel so bad because people will ask me very simple questions, wrestling wise, and then I'll go on like a tangent. There was a fan at the last DPW show who asked me, because he's interested in like training and trying out, and he was like, what's one piece of advice you can give to someone that's interested in becoming a wrestler? And I swear, I went on like a 2.5 minute tangent about like just being coachable and having a good attitude.
Coming into
But
it
no,
positive.
that stuff is really important though, man. Especially because we ask you to do a lot of hard shit when you're doing this stuff. So, nah, yeah, I try my best to keep everything positive and keep everything fun. And yeah, because this stuff can be really intimidating. A lot of people are we gotta give props to anyone that's willing to try it ever at all. So it can already be super intimidating on its own. The last thing we want to do is like bring you in on your first day and just fucking kill you. Like no one gets anything out of that. That's how I feel. That's how Jakob feels. Obviously, there will be cardio days where we are making you fucking throw up, basically. But we have days set aside for that. That
That's
shouldn't be
not day
your
one.
first.
Your
That
first
shouldn't be
experience
your
should be
first
cardio.
experience. Yeah, your first experience should not be a cardio day. That's how we feel like. 'Cause then it's just like you're just gonna associate the bad feelings with like with the experience overall. That's just not helpful for anyone.
That's a really good approach to have to it. You said that when you started wrestling, the first thing that came to you was the in-ring element. That seemed like duck to water, easy for you to do. Are there any moves that you'd think would be really simple, but despite you being like natural at this stuff, it's sort of been difficult to grasp? Is there anything that's been a lot harder than you thought it might be?
So this one isn't necessarily for me, but it's for a lot of people. Is a just a basic generic back suplex. Uh, because the way your brain works, you'll think, all right, lift them up, and then we just fall back. That's not how it works. You're gonna drop somebody on their neck. You're gonna fucking spike them every time. A lot of people don't think about I have to, and I'm like super exposing like moves right now, but it's the only thing I'll talk about in that aspect. You gotta, you have to keep them flat. When you lift them up, they're already flat. So then if you take a bump how you regularly would, now you're tilting them upside down. Um, so yeah, there will be moves like that where people just don't think about how the body is rotating. Because you got to think of how am I landing and how are they landing too. Because biggest thing about this is we're trusting each other with our bodies, so we got to keep each other safe. And that's a
What?
super easy move to just like accidentally fuck somebody up.
Yeah. What about stringing the moves and the moments of a match together to tell a story? Has that come as naturally to you, or was that something you've had to learn over the course of training?
That's something that took me a pretty long time to figure out. But then once I figured it out, I feel like I fucking got it. Um, I think I was like 3.5, 4 years in when I finally it like clicked in my head. And it's like people aren't gonna remember the moves. People are gonna remember the moments. So the moves are just used to string sequences together to create moments. Ultimately, the moves don't matter. It's how you use them. So yeah, that took me a pretty long time to figure out. Because like when I was first in there, it's like I was saying, like moves. The moves are the simpler part because I feel like I have at first I had a pretty basic move set. I do like I said, I do a lot of crazy shit now. But going in, it was just like your usual, big suplex, power slam, big boy senton. So but no, then I started stringing together a lot of the flashier shit, and now I'm still in a process of like I'll find something cool looking that I want to do. And it's like, how can I get the most out of this? Because obviously the move itself is gonna get a big reaction because it looks cool. How can I make it matter more? Where can I put it best in this match to get the most out of it?
I would love to ask you what that move is right now that you're looking at, going, I wish I could make that memorable, but I know that's like something you'll debut in 6 months' time, and I'll be very excited then. So I'll
Yes,
save
sir.
I'll save myself from that one. I know that your biggest inspiration outside the ring has been, and the reason you're in wrestling now is Mama Bojack. Was she a fan of wrestling before you got into it, or has that been because of you?
So she watched it. She had the usual path like everyone else. She watched it when she was a kid. Um, and then she just sort of not necessarily like grew out of it, but like if you're not like in love with wrestling, you just get busy with life, and you sort of just it just falls in the wayside. I think she's definitely become a fan of it again because she's around me so much, and she's coming to shows so often, and she's meeting all these cool people and seeing all this cool shit happen all the time. Where I think she's definitely become a fan of it again, and like we watch it together pretty often. She's up to date on like AEW and stuff like that, so that's pretty cool. But no, she definitely fell off for a bit, and then through me has sort of like found another appreciation for it too.
Is she worried when she watches your matches, or is she? I feel like there's with you in particular, with a nickname of the Dreadlock Demolition Machine. Your mom's either going to be worried about you or worried about what you might do to the other person.
She is always, even now, dude, where like I'm kicking ass for 90% of the match. I get kicked in the face once and she's like, ooh, and like, you know what I'm saying, man? But it's so it's just a nice feeling, you know what I'm saying? It's nice that like she can get like so into it and invested and involved to where like I'll be in control X amount of time, one thing happens, and then she's like, worried about me fucking getting fucked up or whatever. This is the same thing when I was in high school and I was doing sports. Because like I did a very small amount of amateur wrestling in high school, and I played football for most of high school. So it's the same thing of like you're supportive, but also you're concerned because this is what we do is very physical and very dangerous. So it's really easy for freak accidents to happen, and there will be a lot of times where somebody will land weird on something and the people just sell really well and she think they're fucked up, like they're just
Is your mom the kind of person that would try and fight your opponent? Like if you're down and she sees them, is she going for them or?
It depends on who I'm facing. It depends
Okay.
on who I'm facing. Because sometimes I'll face people that she actually likes. Like she's a big fan of Patrick Scott.
Right.
So when me and Patrick face off, it's a little like easier to like relax and like not be, concerned. But then I'm facing someone like, man, who is someone that like kicked the dog shit out of me? The first time I faced John Davis was probably pretty rough for her to watch. Because that's probably the most offense I'd ever taken in a match up until that point. Because John Davis, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's sort of more, so he's sort of just out here in like this southeastern area. But he like wrestles in Florida a bit sometimes, and somewhere in the West Coast that a little bit too. He is a very strong man, and he's probably the strongest person I've ever personally wrestled. Um, he's hit me with a jackhammer like easily,
Oh wow.
multiple times. So yeah, those matches are pretty rough, but they're super fun and easily some of the best matches I've ever had.
Having just watched your match from No Surrender and seeing you do the stalling vertical, I cannot imagine you taking a jackhammer. You know, that's one of those things you can't flip those two positions. There's one person does one person takes the other. It can't be the other way around. I can't see it. I know that your mom, Mama Bojack, said that you could wrestle so long as you went to college. I know that you've got a degree in computer programming. How do you balance those two things, training for wrestling and then also pursuing a degree?
Dude, that was probably the roughest time of my life for sure. So I started training when I was in high school.
Yeah.
So like that was before I even got to college of like having to find the balance between like getting schoolwork done, but also wanting to put enough time in to wrestling to be able to actually succeed. Um someone here's someone I'll talk about. Someone that I came up with, Antonio Ace. He unfortunately is retired now just because, life just caught up with him and like, he didn't want to like grow into one of those guys that just like hates wrestling
Okay.
with a burning passion. He still wants to enjoy the sport. So he doesn't wrestle anymore. But we started training at the same time, and it was just easier for him to put more in than me. We started basically the same day, but he debuted before me because I couldn't put as much time in because I couldn't find the balance as easy. So
Right.
it's things like that where like you just gotta realize it's like, hey, I gotta find the balance somewhere. Um,
Have you found a
I
balance
got
for social life as well?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. It helps now because a lot of my close personal friends are people that I've met through the CWA, so they live pretty locally. A lot of them live here in Jacksonville with me. So that makes things easier. I still get to see some of my best friends and people that I consider my brothers and family on a weekly basis, if not like on almost daily basis. Um so that's been easier. But yeah, college was rough. But especially because that's when I started working my shoot job. So I was working
So
overnights.
wait, so you were doing wrestling training, and by this point, I assume performing as well. College had started and getting a job outside of that as well, all at the same time.
Yeah.
I see why you're saying that was the roughest time. That's like a lot on your plate. And
But
social life. Wow.
it's I feel like having gone through that uh makes me more appreciative now of when I do have downtime. Um because I'm still pretty busy. I'm not that busy, but I'm like not far from it. This is a little more breathable now. But especially going through that at like such a young point in my life too was I like to joke all the time that I'm a jaded old man and I'm only fucking 22. But
I
like
relate to that statement so much.
I feel like a jaded old man sometimes. I'm like, man, y'all doing too much, man. Y'all do but no, I am appreciative. It made me grow up quick. It made me grow up and like figure out how I look at life very early. And I'm actually really appreciative of that.
That's great. As I mentioned off the top, you're the inaugural and current DPW World Champion. You've got the belt on you. I see that you have it in every interview. You've got the flag behind you. You're wearing the t-shirt. You have another t-shirt on the wall. You put it on for this company. I respect it a lot. Why the love for them? Is it just because they've given you such an opportunity? Because obviously you've done stuff with PWF as well.
So PWF will always be first and foremost my home promotion. It's where I started. It's where I train. It's where I've had like some of my biggest moments so far in wrestling. So they'll always be like number one, just without a doubt. But then Deadlock is easily right there at number two. Like those are like locked forever. For the history of ever, those are number one and two. Um, I was a huge fan of the guys running Deadlock growing up. So the fact that I get to work with them and communicate with them on such a regular basis, and they have so much trust in me to literally like carry the flag. Like there's like not that flag, this flag. This is the flag, man. Because like a lot of people have this flag. I'm the only guy with this flag. So it means so much to me that they have so much trust in me to just be like, yeah, he's the guy, and we're just gonna run with it. And going into like matches and stuff too, not to give like too much away, they're very trusting and like letting us like figure out matches and stuff for ourselves. A lot of people have a bad habit of being very involved in like the wrestling part of stuff when they don't necessarily need to be. Not that they shouldn't, but like it's very easy to get very micromanagey of how people call matches.
Right.
Sometimes it can be to a fault, but they have never been like that ever. The trust between them and the locker room is so like next level that they just like, hey, here's what we want, here's how long we want it to go, figure it out. And it's like it's such a relieving way of being able to work. It's such a great environment.
Is that partially because you helped train Pulse and he knows you'll make him run if he if he tells you to do something wrong? You're just giving him punishment exercises.
Man, I'd like to think that he just has faith in me, but I mean that could probably be part of it too.
Oh man. I want to ask, you've got the belt on you, as I say. You said in a previous interview, and I quote, "The urge to carry the belt everywhere is strong." Is that because you want to represent these promotions, or you're just genuinely excited that you get to carry and wear these belts?
Both. Because the PWF one, until I dropped it too, was the same thing. I had it in my bag everywhere, and anyone that would let me bring it out, I would, because I'm proud that people are willing to put, like I said, these fucking flags on me and have me carry the brand, so to speak. So it's both like an advertisement thing, but it's also like a genuinely just me being proud to have these things that I've been entrusted with. So I put it on myself. I feel like it's my duty as a champion to wear this thing anywhere and everywhere that I can. So I'm willing to do that any opportunity I get.
Excellent. I mean, that's really good to hear that it's not just a company thing, it's like a personal thing as well, that you want to do that. That's great. You said before that you want to wrestle ACH in particular. Not about him specifically, but when it comes to DPW and the trust they put in you, do you have any say or sway in who gets to come in? Do you have an opportunity to sort of say, this is someone I'd love to face? If you guys can look into this, I'd appreciate it.
It's not even just for me. It's like that for a lot of like, you know, the guys that it's very obvious, like, okay, these are DPW guys. Um, Obviously, you know, they're only human and none of us are rich in any capacity. We're all fucking doing this together. Um, but like, yeah, if it's something that is somewhat possible to make happen, they try their best to make it happen. Um, I can talk about it now that it's happened. Uh, I just wrestled M Dog 20 at No Pressure. Um, and that was the fucking craziest thing ever because people ask me, like, how do you feel about that? And I was like, I don't know how to feel because I've never even fucking considered that would happen, much less like, you know, I never considered it even to be a possibility. So the fact that not only is it happening, and it was like 2 days by the time I got to talk about it, it's like it's happening in 2 days. I have to just go ahead and get into the mindset and be ready for it. I knew way before then, but publicly it wasn't announced until like 2 days before it was happening that it was me facing him. Um, the way that happened, I was just on Twitter and I was like, how can we get Matt Cross into DPW? I didn't even mean for me. I just meant in general.
You just appreciate
Like,
the guy.
I just wanted to see him face anybody, and I've been a fan of his forever. So I was like, just seeing him in DPW would be sweet. Um, and then I get a DM one day, and it's like, "Hey, we got you M Dog." I was like, "What the fuck do you mean?"
What do you mean me? What do you mean you got me him?
It was, but no, yeah. If it's somewhat possible, then they try their best to make it happen. Also because they know that like it's not just us selfishly asking for shit. Anyone that ever is like, hey, can I face X person? We're doing it because we know for the most part that they're gonna gel with. We don't ever try to bring in anybody that we don't think is gonna gel with the locker room, because that and PWF, those are why these are my favorite two promotions to work in. These are my home promotions. First and foremost, we want to have a good locker room environment. We don't we respect whatever you've done, but like if you're a shitty person, we're probably not gonna have you around, because locker room environment and locker room morale, like, it's contagious. And so like if X guy over here is like being shitty, then we're all gonna feel that, and it's gonna affect us all. Um, so yeah, but nah, they're super cool. Yeah.
You've talked before, like we talked in this interview about trying to make wrestling fun. You've just said about trying to have a locker room that feels inclusive and people are enjoying themselves. I feel like it's come a long way to the point that you've talked about anime interviews. People like Kid Bandit are like big. Look, this is just the one frame of reference I got. Kid Bandit talking about anime interviews. Eddie Kingston wore a not Samurai Champloo. That's my version. Cowboy Bebop t-shirt on Dynamite this week. It feels like just like that is one microcosm. The fact that anime has become like a big part of the wrestling community on top of everything else is a really good sign that it's just, you know, everyone's being made to feel welcome in this world now. It's great. It's really
Dude,
good.
like I regularly talk about like the weirdest animes on my Twitter, and I get love for it every time. Where like, just dial it back even like 5 years, I feel like if I'm on Twitter talking about anime, people are gonna like be shitting on me and calling me weird or whatever. Or like I'll get like some funny looks from people. It's like, oh, you watch anime? It's like, yeah, dude, like what?
What do you mean? It's the best cartoon. There, that's the answer.
Absolutely.
Before we move totally away from DPW, what do you want to accomplish as the first champion? Either personally, how you want to develop while in the middle of this run, in ring, what you want to accomplish in ring in terms of match quality, or what you want to accomplish for the company overall. Where do you want to help them get to?
So my biggest goal going forward, and as long as I have the flag, as I've called it, and I'm probably going to keep calling it going forward.
When you said that earlier, I was like, that is promo worthy. That is excellent, excellent line. I love it.
As long as I have the flag, I'm just going to keep elevating us as high as we can go. Like I said, I take it to heart that they're willing to put so much trust in me to carry the brand. So I'm gonna do everything in my power to make sure that everyone else sees the same shit that we see. And like everyone else is taking this as seriously as we do. Because it's really easy to like look at, you know, where we all come from and the shit that we all enjoy and watch and like content that we've produced and be like, oh, it's just like I've heard people say, oh, they're just a joke company, they're just a meme company, blah blah blah. They use GoFundMe's to pay for everything. It's like, first of all, where if there are GoFundMe's, could you tell us where those are at? Because we'd like to see some of that fucking money. Um, Nah, man, it's so funny to see people just like want good things to not succeed. So I'm doing everything I can to like make sure people are fucking taking us as seriously as possible. Like this isn't a fucking joke. This isn't a meme. This isn't an e-fed. We are a real company out here putting on some of the best fucking shows. Just this year, last year, fucking next year, until we fucking stop. We're gonna put on some of the best shows around.
That's excellent energy. I love it. I love that. It's just it's flying the flag. Simple as possible, flying the flag.
Hell yeah.
To talk about other companies real quick, I'm really interested in this because the current running joke is that the DPW locker room is being used by Wardlow on a regular basis to get beaten up on.
Man, it's on site. Wardlow steps into DPW ever, it's on site. The whole locker room is beating this man down.
But I'm interested, have you ever done any sort of enhancement talent work for any company? Because I feel like I've not heard you talk about that.
So here's the fucking funniest thing ever. All right. I would love to do enhancement work, extra talent work, anything. I have a lot of like the like prerequisite shit that you need to get done for it. I have a lot of that already done. But this is something that Steve Carino told me like when I first started, and it's even more so now that I have like grown up. He was like, you're too big and you look too he's like, you're too big and you look too like indistinguishable from other people. Not indistinguishable.
Too distinguishable.
Yeah. The reverse of that. Yeah.
You're unique.
I look too much like me and I'm big. So I'm probably not gonna get used a lot. And I fucking haven't. And it's the funniest thing to me because it's not like, oh, I don't want to go do extras work. I'd fucking love to do that shit. I just want to be in the environment and see how stuff operates. But nah, I've very rarely done any extras work because of the hair, because of the size. So you know, it is what it is. And if it ever happens, then I'll be, like I said, I'll gladly do it. But up until like very recently, then you might see me on some stuff sometime soon. We'll talk about it after we stop recording.
Okay. I love to hear that.
But yeah, up until like very, very recently, I haven't done anything at all extras work other than like local companies here when I was first starting.
Right. Outside of extra stuff, are you looking at quote unquote bigger companies at the moment? Or are you interested in going to somewhere like, I'm not even just talking WWE, AEW, but MLW, GCW, NWA, Impact? Have you got an interest in that? Or are you solely focused on the indie scene right now?
I want to wrestle anywhere and everywhere that will give me the best opponents to wrestle. As long as I can keep being me and I can keep like, because I'm real big on like my own personal like style and image right now. Not in like a cocky way, but like I'm at the point where I feel like I know what works for me. So in that aspect, that's pretty important for me. But like that aside, I just want to be anywhere. I want to wrestle everybody. I say this on Twitter a lot. People are like, "Oh, who's a big dream match for you?" I don't have like a list of like dream match people because I just want to wrestle everybody. Anyone that I feel like I can entertain people with, I want to wrestle them. So I don't have like a list of who are X guys you want to wrestle. Obviously, there will be people like ACH that I got my eyes on. But no, I'm not a big like list guy. Yeah, and I just want to go everywhere because I love like all of those places that you just listed. I'd be honored to wrestle any of those places. I think my biggest two goals would be like AEW or New Japan. Um, just because that's what I consume the most, but also like those are where a lot of my favorite guys are. But
Right.
I'd love to be anywhere right now.
Awesome. How does it feel to, from the outside looking in? I don't know if you can tell from my accent. I'm not from the States. I'm not from North Carolina, but it seems and looks and sounds like you've got a lot of love there and a lot of support there. How does it feel to be so young and to already have all this backswell of support? Or
It
does it not feel that
is
way? Maybe.
no, that is how it feels, and it's so crazy. Because I feel like it's like I said earlier, like just don't be a piece of shit. And well, I didn't say it, but I'll phrase it like this: don't be a piece of shit, and you'll get pretty far in wrestling. Um, I feel like I've carried that pretty well. I tried to. Um, so I do feel like I have a lot of support, both like here and just like in the surrounding states. I feel like it's like that crazy thing that happens when I come out and like everyone's like singing my name to my music. It's very similar to that, where I do feel like I have a lot of support from my colleagues and from fans locally, sub locally, and like not locally. I feel like I get a lot of love. Um it's so crazy because I try not to think about it. It's like, oh, I'm only 22, blah blah blah. I try not to get in that mindset just because I want to be as successful as possible right now. Um, but I do have to like step back and like look at it, and it's like, man, I'm only 22 and I have like so much love, and like I'm starting to get a lot of respect like places I go, and people are like taking my opinions seriously when I do the few times I will voice my opinion on something. So it's just nice to like be appreciated, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. You said in other interviews you want to travel more. You mentioned New Japan as sort of like a dream destination. What are some other dream destinations, whether that's like just other states or other countries? Where would you love to go?
So Japan is the big one, because I just want to go to Japan. If I get to wrestle somewhere over there, that's a bonus. I just want to go to Japan. Um, I feel like I do want to go to somewhere in the UK. I'm looking into that as much as I can without saying too much stuff. So hopefully that something with that happens in the next few years. Um, I feel like either France or Italy would be really cool to visit. Those are sort of like non-wrestling ones, but like
If you can tie in wrestling, that helps pay for the trip. You're good. It's
exactly. I just want to travel. I just want to see things. But like obviously, if I get to wrestle there, that's a huge bonus.
I feel like, I mean, I don't know this for sure. I feel like WXW in Germany would appreciate you. I feel like their fan base would be like into it.
I don't know if you're familiar, but there's a guy named Jaden Newman
Right.
that I'm familiar with. I have not gotten the chance to wrestle him one on one yet, even though we fucking run the same circles. Um, but now he's very good, very entertaining, and he just got announced for their next show. Like they dropped the flyer, and he's like the guy that's in like the back left. He's got like the dark hair. I was like, holy shit! So I mean,
What's
we'll
your
see. We'll
contacts?
see.
Give me the
Yeah, I'm like, hey yo, like what's happening? But
on the UK thing, and I know that you said you've been a fan of the guys from Deadlock for ages. I also know you've been a fan of What Culture for ages. Do you wish you could have competed for WCPW?
absolutely, dude. Like, it's one of those things where like looking back, you just got to look back and appreciate like what's available to watch, and like it's really easy to dwell on like what ifs and stuff, but I try not to. But like, man, because like they in the short amount of time that like WCPW was around, they did a lot of cool shit. They did a lot of cool shit, and like that world tournament fucking thing that they did, fucking crazy. I can't believe to be like that early in as a company and be able to accomplish something like that, and then it probably didn't help like finance wise, but but not just the fact to say that they were able to do it, like that's so cool. So yeah, I definitely would have wished I would have been able to wrestle for them
UK at some point. I'll see you over here.
at
Um,
some point, man.
Not to look way too far into the future, but I know you said you want to stay in wrestling as long as possible, long term. I know you said you want to do commentary. What are some other positions outside of being in ring that you're interested in? Do you want to be a trainer, booking agent, promoter, manager? What piques your interest?
I never want to be a promoter ever.
No.
It's
Is seeing
it's
the guys at
the
DPW backstage put you off? You're just no.
seeing them and seeing Jakob and like what they, because I can dial it back a little bit. I help a little bit with promotion stuff with PWF, not a ton, but a tiny bit. I help a little bit with promotion stuff. I see all of what happens, and just seeing Jakob and the Deadlock guys and like other promoters that I'm friends with, like the headaches that they deal with on a regular basis of like the smallest, stupidest shit can just make the biggest issues. So I definitely never want to be a promoter ever. Um, I enjoy like being a booker because like I've helped book some shows and like I said, I help with PWF stuff sometimes. So like if you just give me guys and just let me put matches together, I'm cool doing that. But I don't want to handle anything with like money. I don't want to handle money stuff. I don't want to handle venue stuff. I don't want to handle any of that. Just give me the guys and just let me help put the show together.
All right, agenting.
Um
I like it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cause I will help agent like for PWF, I'll help agent like some of the newer trainees that are just starting to debut. I help agent some of their matches. Um or like other places with like trainees that are like in the same realm of like my guys, but they aren't my guys. People will ask me for thoughts on like, hey, how do you think this spot will look? Blah blah blah. And like I'll help them. I'll sit and listen and like help them put some stuff together. So like being an agent in any capacity would be dope. I've already started being a trainer and I've decided that like that's my after in-ring focus is training because being able to pass off whatever knowledge I've been able to acquire now is so special. And being able to help people make their dreams come true, that's such a feeling that is just so irreplaceable. Um so yeah, agenting, training, and then commentary is the big one. That's like my backup, like knock on wood, if I ever just like randomly get injured, I have to step out of the ring forever. That's my immediate go-to is commentary because I feel like I try my best to be like up to date on who's doing what and move. I like to find guys and get the names of moves if I can. I'll have days at PWF where I have to get commentary notes and then I have to go call my match. But I have to like stop halfway through because the show is starting. Got to run back and call the first half of the show. Then someone takes my spot and I have to go finish calling my match. And then I have to have the match in the main event. So running around with like a chicken with my head cut off. But nah, yeah. So yeah, those would be my top three to like round out this answer. Would be commentary, agenting, or training in any capacity.
Awesome. I know that one of the people that got you to realize there was more to wrestling than just in ring was Punk. And I feel like a lot of people will say about him, oh, he's so good on commentary. That's their first thing outside of the in ring. It's always great when he's on commentary. So I feel like it's good. You're following those footsteps a little bit more.
That was probably the first shirt that's on the wall. So he was actually, I have like the gray like best in the world shirt.
It just
It's
doesn't
over
fit the
here
color
now.
scheme. It just doesn't fit
But
the
it
color
doesn't.
scheme.
There's too much orange going on. Yeah. It was over here, like where this like bulletin board thing
Okay.
is. It was either there or it was where Cena's at. But that was like the first shirt that I ever was like, I'm gonna keep this, like even when I can't wear it because it's so dope and he's just been such a big inspiration to me. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna keep this, put it on my wall. Fuck
I tried to
it.
go orange with the LEDs behind me in honor of DPW, but I feel like it's just coming across as like Darth Vader in the night,
It's
the
close
lights.
enough. It's close enough. Hey, Obi-Wan's out right now. It's on topic. It's fine.
Disney Plus, give me a sponsor and I'll keep it up. Before I finish up with some easier questions to answer, I want to ask you more of like a harder one because I know you've said that early on it was hard to get into the mindset of the Bojack character. That you had the same issue in high school doing football. Your coaches would get on to you about it. You said in an interview that you found what works for you. What is it that helps you get into the mindset of, all right, I'm not shoot name. I'm Bojack right now and I'm ready for this.
It's a very like it's one of those things that sort of just happens like it's sort of funny because I sort of like slightly get into that mindset when I'm calling matches. And I'm like, okay, how would Bojack react in this moment? Or how would Bojack act after hitting this move? And I feel like some of that stuff plays out. Someone asked me while I was streaming the other day, they're like, "Why do you wink at the camera?" I was like, "I don't know. It's just something that feels right in the moment." And I don't do it the same place every time. Sometimes I do it in my entrance. Sometimes I'll hit a move. There'll be like a moment of downtime. Find the camera, give it a wink. I don't know. Um, I think that's just my way or Bojack's way of working the camera and being a character and being entertaining, because it's not just, hey, I'm here to kick ass. It's like, hey, I'm here to kick ass. I'm here to be cool. I'm here to make sure you guys are having a good time. Um, so yeah, like pre-calling matches is sort of like how I start to get into it, and then like the real like moment that I get into it is like right before I hit the curtain, where like I got everything on. My gear is heavy as shit. I get everything on, and like I'm just there, and I'm ready to go, and I have one last moment of like being not Bojack before I have to turn it on, and then right when I step through the curtain, it's like a switch, and then it definitely helps when people like when I'm wrestling places that know me, and people are doing the thing where they sing my name to my music. I love my theme music either way, but
Where
like
did
that's
that
like an
come
added
from?
bonus.
Where did the music come from, and the
Uh,
decision to make it
so
like that?
the music was a it was like some kind of like copyright free thing that I just found.
Excellent.
Um,
Always a good answer indie wrestling wise. Just
yeah,
find whatever's
yeah.
copyright free and go
So
with it.
that was another Steve Carino thing, because at PWF at the time he was like, "Hey, we're gonna start switching over to not copyrighted stuff," and that only lasted about a year before we switched back. But he was like, "So new trainees coming up, find something that's like copyright free that we can use on shows for you when you debut." And I found that, instantly fell in love with it, and I've only ever used one other song than the song I'm using now, and it was "Win" by J Rock.
Right?
Um, but because that's just one that's a dope song.
Yeah. It's a good mic. It
Um,
kind of, I think if you lose the match, then that's a bad precedent where you've come out and be like, win, 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 win. Oh, no. I didn't
but
make
also,
it.
it was like some copyright free thing, and then slight sidebar. I'm in a stable called the High Flying Star Machines.
Yeah.
It's me, BK Westbrook, Diego Hill, and Azrael Kayam. Az actually does music production. So he was like, "Hey, I'm just like messing around with some stuff, and I like made my own version of the music that you currently use." And he sent me that, and I was like, "Dude, I love it." The only thing it was missing was like the horns at the beginning, but everything else was like, I was like, "Oh, this is perfect." So he added in the horns at the beginning, like the burr, 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 burr before I walk out. Um, but no, so it's just a stroke of luck where like I just found something that worked immediately, and then I don't know when the crowd thing started. It's just, I think it's something that we just like, some of us would like joke around and like do,
That wasn't a
and
conscious
then
decision.
no, it was never like a purposeful thing. It's one of those freak things that just happened and just became a thing. I think it started as like a locker room joke where like we would just joke around, and then like I think there was one show where some of the boys were like hanging out in the crowd and like were sort of doing the joke, and then like some of the fans like heard him and they started doing it too. And then it was a PWF thing first, so then like I got really popular there, and then everyone was doing it. So then the videos of me of like the of our shows would go out, and people were like, "Oh, that's cool." And there's another promotion that I work in Greensboro called Firestar. Same thing. I'd like bring some of the boys with me, just like on the road. They'd start doing it. The fans would hear it, and then now like the whole building is just singing my name to my music as I'm making my entrance. It was never a purposeful thing whatsoever. But like, to round back the original question, I think that is probably the biggest thing that helps me like get into Bojack mode, so to speak, because it's like it's larger than life, like genuinely. It's something that I can't replicate, and if I tried to like jury rig it on purpose, it wouldn't have been the same. The fact that it's just like such a naturally occurring thing. Um, I won't name them, just so I'm not sure how they'd feel about it. But like someone I faced recently said that it like sort of threw them off because like they knew I was like popular with the crowd, but they weren't ready for like hundreds of people screaming my fucking name at you as I'm making my way to the ring.
It's a
They
lot to
like
take in.
They were like, "What the fuck is happening?"
Out of the persona of Bojack and onto the name, I know it's from Dragon Ball Z. Again, if anyone doesn't know that, there's plenty of other great interviews with this fine gentleman that you can watch to find out about that. And I know that you're sick of people thinking it's based on BoJack Horseman. Do you like the show, or have you just not watched it out of anger?
I've purely not watched it because of I just resent it so much. But like I feel bad because I hear it's a good show, but like I get so disgusted every time people are like, "Oh, BoJack Horseman." I was like, so one day I'll probably give up and I'll watch it, and then the jokes will come back for a bit because I said I watched it and I'll probably enjoy the show. But no, that's where I'm at right now. I just can't watch it right now because I have such a stigma with the joke.
All right. Where does the mic come from? I know you do some streaming. Is that the reason that you've got the microphone? Because that's, in terms of other wrestlers doing interviews, they don't have such a professional looking setup. So that's why.
Oh yeah. This is purely because of streaming.
Right.
So one of my very close friends and someone that works with us at DPW, Tyler El Guapo. You would have never seen him, but he does like music. He'll like run like sound and stuff. He's a sound engineer. That's what we call him at DPW. So like some of the DPW guys will mention him on stuff. And he's a streamer, and he's been streaming for a few years. And I love video games, and I've been trying to find ways to just other ways to generate income, and also I just like playing video games too. So I was like, well, maybe I should start streaming. So I was like, I'll get a fucking microphone. So yeah, I feel like I throw a lot of people off because they don't expect me to be like headsets, microphone, adjusting it, ready to go, checking my sound levels and shit. Like they just expect like I'm on a fucking phone, or like even if they're on a laptop, it's literally just like webcam. It's not professional microphone sitting in front of their face.
It's a very, as a first episode for All Angles Wrestling makes it a lot easier on me and having to can you like get in frame? No, you know what you're doing. That's great. I'll finish off with a question that's just something that really interests me. I love thinking about ring gear. I think the quote I've already got from you in this interview is that yours is heavy as shit. But I also know that you said in a previous interview, you have 3 sets of ring gear. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is the gold set that you wore on No Surrender new, or is that one of the 3 sets?
That's brand new. I actually have 5 sets now.
Oh, 5 now. This is why you watch this interview, because it's up to date.
I had the black set was the very all right. So
go through
Cheeseburger. Cheeseburger posted a picture of his first promo picture ever, and I was like, all right, so I gotta post mine. And so that actually has like my first ring gear ever. My first ring gear ever was like some black boots, some black jeggings, because I wanted to wear like jeans type material, but like I didn't want to wear like tights. And obviously on a just starting a year in indie level, I don't have a connect to anyone that makes jean material tights.
So jeggings is the way to go.
I had black jeggings, and I cut the sleeves off of a short sleeve black button up shirt, and I looked like Mr. Hughes. Because in the first iteration of Bojack was sort of like not a bouncer, but like sort of a bouncer. I was a heavy for somebody, so I was like, that's what a heavy would wear. And it just worked. So I wore that for like a year, and then I bought a real ballistic vest, like Shield style,
right?
And I wore that for a year.
Was that heavy as shit? Or is that
was heavier than what I'm wearing?
I mean,
now.
I was assuming that. I just wanted to find out.
So I've been as a bigger guy, cardio is like a big thing, and I feel like of the bigger guys in the area, I have pretty good cardio.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why. It's because my gear is so heavy, and it had like a reverse I don't know if you're familiar with like Naruto at all. It's a Dragon Ball Z thing too, with like the weighted shit.
Yeah.
Like
I've not. So I am an anime fan. You cannot see from I don't know if you can see the pop violence properly in the background, but there's an entire shelf that's just Yu-Gi-Oh! And then My Hero Academia. But so I haven't watched DBZ or Naruto, but my TikTok gets infested once a month with the scene of the guy taking off the weights in Naruto. So I know the energy you're coming with. I know where it's coming from.
So I've almost had that effect, like, but it wasn't purposeful at all, but like wearing like an extra 30 pounds of shit, I'm like, I gotta carry my own weight and this extra stuff. So I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. So when I'm not wearing it, like, man, if I like release some of the training videos, the shit that I do, like my whole in-ring would just be like blown away because they're like, why do you do all this cool shit and then don't do it? It's like, because I'm big, I don't need to do any of that. But no, yeah, so the ballistic vest was like year 2 into year 3, and then year 3.5 is when I finally got the black vest, the
Right.
original black vest. Um that I wore in, I'm trying to think, when have I worn that on? The only time I wore it was the main event of, I think it was like episode 4 of DPW Fire when I faced Kevin Koo.
Right.
And then so the way I debuted the actual DPW vest was cool. Um, so I had at the taping, I had a promo as like the first segment, and then I was in the main event of the last segment. So I came out in the black, because I wear the same tights. So I
Yeah.
came out with the black vest for the promo segment, blah blah blah. I'm actually like, you can probably see me hanging out at like the production table, like in the back or like just around. I'm wearing this the entire show. Right before my match, I go take the black one off, put the orange one on, and then I come through the curtain, and everyone's like, "Oh shit!" um, but no, so I got the red one second.
Right.
I call that big match red because a lot of my biggest and most important matches I've either just so happened to or purposefully have been wearing like the red
Right.
fit. And then I got the blue fit not too long after that, just because I wanted to start varying it up, and blue is my favorite color. A lot of people think it's like Wolverine expired, or some
'Cause
people
it's
will
blue
say
and yellow,
Vegeta.
right?
Yeah, so some people instantly go to Wolverine, or they'll sort of say Vegeta because like blue and yellow, sorta. It's Static Shock inspired
Oh, right.
because
My brain went to Golden State Warriors for some reason. And I was like, I
nah.
feel like that's not it. But my brain was like, that might be the reason. But Static Shock is a much better pull. That's a good one.
Because that was one of the, I feel like just the DC animated cartoons like growing up were like super sick, and that was one of the best ones. And I feel like the character itself just doesn't get nearly enough love. Like, I need a modern Static Shock adaptation somewhere, man. Like, put him in some of these fucking 15,000 DC comic shows that you guys have, or give him a movie. I don't know.
Did you ever watch
Uh,
Young Justice? That's about it now.
I watched the first season, and then I've been meaning to watch like the rest of it, but I just haven't had time
Because
to.
that made me fall in love with Blue Beetle. So I feel like that can be your go-to for your
Yeah.
blue. If you get a blue and black, that's the Blue Beetle. There you go.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, so yeah, then I got the Deadlock orange after the blue. And then I just debuted the gold at No Pressure.
It looks very
So
cool.
yeah.
Very, very cool. Is so when you're getting your ring gear, do you come up with like like not a story reason, but like the Static Shock thing, you want to be inspired by something?
Not
Or is
all
it
the
just I
time.
want a new color and this looks cool?
Man, I feel like it's a disappointing answer, but it's like I just want all right, so there's a real reason for it. But it is just colors. But this is another conversation I had with uh Steve Carino is my number 2 mentor. Jakob is my number 1 just cuz he's been the most like hands-on. But what Steve Carino was like, he owned CWA when I first started, but he was immediately got signed to WWE as a coach and as a trainer, as a producer. So I didn't have that much time to be around him when I was like first developing. But he's given me so much great like advice and just pointed me in the right direction over the years. And that was one conversation we had, was he saw me in the red. Um, I think it was at Colby's birthday show last year. That was the first time he'd actually seen me in person wearing the red. And he was like, big guys are afraid to wear bright colors. So you immediately stand out as this big fucking dude wearing fucking bright red. So he was like, keep going with the brighter colors. He's like, obviously you can do like, the blacks and like the darker colors. Like, that's cool too, but make sure you have some brighter stuff available. So I was like, all right, red was the first one. Give me a fucking bright blue next. And then the Deadlock one was sort of just like a timing thing.
Right.
Because I wanted it by You Already Know. That was their first pay-per-view. but I didn't get it until like right after that. So I just wore it at the next fire taping.
Right.
And then the gold, there's sort of a storyline thing for that that's related to stuff that's happening with PWF. That will happen in like the next few months.
In my mind, it's just I'm the champ.
But that's another reason. Yeah, part of it is storyline stuff. Part of it is just like, hey, I'm champ. I got gold. I want gold.
Woo!
So.
All right, awesome. There was something I was gonna add to that, and I've totally just forgotten whatever it was. It was something about ring gear. Oh no, I was too busy oohing at the line. I've got gold. Well, I'll end it there. I'll just say thank you very much for taking time to speak to me, Bojack. I appreciate it very much. If you have ever questioned this man's credibility as a historian of wrestling, he name dropped Mr. Hughes in this interview. That shows he knows stuff, right? No one name drops Mr. Hughes, right? That's come out of nowhere. That's great. I really appreciate taking time to talk to me. I'm really pleased with everything I've seen from DPW and seen from you. You've already mentioned you already know your match with Andrew Everett is one of my favorite of the year so far, and it really has cemented my love for DPW.
It's probably. It's in the top 3, but I'd argue that's the best match I've ever had. But it's easily top 3 for sure.
I'm a big fan. If you've not already, go and check out DPW On Demand. Thank you for joining me. If you want to plug away, I don't know exactly when this is going to come out, hopefully in the next week, but if you can just tell people where they can find you, whether that be social media or Twitch, just let the people know where you're at.
Words. You can find me on Twitter at Bojack Official. You can find me on Instagram at Bojack Official IG. I have a TikTok. I don't use it. I'll probably start using it soon. You can find me on there at Bojack Official TT. I have a Twitch. I do a little bit of gaming and streaming and stuff. You can find me at Dreadlocked. That's DRED capital LOCKD. I don't know why I spell it like that, but fucking I don't know. It's a gamer tag, man.
Perfect. Thanks so much for taking time. Oh, you got more.
No. But I'll say I think that's everything. Yeah, I think that's everything. Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, and thank you for supporting All Angles Wrestling. I appreciate it. Have a good day. Thank you for checking out All Angles Wrestling. You can catch more of us on Twitter at All Angles Rest. If you're listening to us in podcast form, remember you can check out our YouTube channel for exclusive clips and more interviews. And if you're here on our YouTube account, you can always catch us on the go by looking up our podcast on your favorite podcasting app. Thank you for checking out All Angles Wrestling. We'll see you next time.